Fear drove many of the big human rights developments over the past year. Fear of being killed or tortured or starved to death drove millions from their homes in Syria. Fear of what that massive influx of asylum seekers would mean for their societies led many in Europe to raise the gates. Fear of terrorism led governments to compromise rights and to scapegoat the refugees and indeed to fuel a rise in Islamophobia that has been unprecedented in recent years. And a very different sort of fear, a fear around the world by autocrats of being held to account by their people, led to a very intense crackdown on civil society in an effort to prevent people from banding together and having their voices heard. Now, in difficult times like today, there's a real tendency to say, well, what are we going to do? Human rights are just too inconvenient. We've got to sacrifice them for other purposes. But in fact, human rights provide a pretty good guidepost to how to deal with these tumultuous times. If you look at it, stopping the atrocities in Syria is the best way to stop the flow of refugees. Respecting the rights of the refugees, indeed providing them safe and legal passage so they don't have to risk their lives at sea, is good not only for the refugees, but also for European safety, because it makes it harder for the terrorists to slip into an otherwise chaotic flow. If you want to attack terrorism, the best way is to proceed lawfully, respecting the rights of people, so you encourage the communities who have the most information about a prospective terrorist attack to actually provide that information rather than seeing themselves as potential targets. And while the West is sometimes reluctant to stand up against the nationalist rhetoric of autocrats who say that it's a Western imposition to defend civil society in their countries, in fact, that defense is essential if you want government to serve the people of those countries rather than the bank accounts of those leaders and their cronies.